then you kind of lose who you are. If your job is to kind of freely point out that these people suck and you find out that maybe they don't, you might lose an audience. You might you might end up like if you were going and I've seen it on your show when you veer.
I've lost audience. Before many times, and I don't care. I care because it'd be great if it didn't happen.
You know, there's something incredibly satisfying about witnessing a heavyweight clash of ideas, right?
Fuss was about, and then some of them, you know, I watched Rain Man again. I thought it held up pretty well, but again, you couldn't make it because. Like he says the R word a million times. Like that kind of stuff. We're like in kindergarten now where we have to say pee-pee and poo-poo and R word. And
Animal House. I think Animal House still holds up, but you could not do that movie, especially in the nightclub scene. Oh. Do you mind if we dance with your dates? That whole thing would never happen. It would never happen. That's the first time I ever saw breasts.
But it's every movie. It's every movie.
Yeah.
It's I mean, any movie made even 10 years ago, and there's something there that you if you really examine who you are, you probably are not offended at all. We all laughed at this stuff and it wasn't terribly, we know when something's terribly offensive. But when you hear it now in 2023, you hunch up because you know, not because of it itself, but because you know the reaction it will cause.
Yes.
You know you're going to have to listen to people bitching about this and posturing and pretending they're so offended and it's so terrible. And that's what's going to be so.
And they're not. That's the thing. They're not offended.
Well,
they're not. No one's really offended, I think.
Well,
because you can, when you said.
People are offended and some things are offensive.
Yeah, I mean, but it's kind of like when I said, do you Google people who are dead? When you're offensive, if you just waited 10 seconds, you would forget.
And oh boy, Bill Maher and Greg Gutfeld did not disappoint when they butted heads on Maher's podcast, Club Random. I mean, it was like watching fireworks on the 4th of July. These two jumped headfirst into a heated argument over woke culture, battling it out over whether it's gone too far and how it's allegedly strangling freedom of expression. Maher, known for walking the liberal line, is taken aback by Gutfeld's unapologetic stance on dodging today's politically correct traps. Talk about dramatic tension, huh? So folks, if you're as hooked on this kind of content as I am, you should totally subscribe. It really keeps me going, and I'd love nothing more than to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of February. Every subscription gets us one step closer to exploring and exposing more epic clashes like this one. Alright, so diving deeper into this, the exchange between Bill Maher and Greg Gutfeld was like an explosive dialogue you'd only expect from two seasoned commentators. They didn't hold back as they eagerly dissected everything wrong, or perhaps right, with what's dubbed as woke culture. In a sense, this debate embodies the broader cultural battle many feel embroiled in today. Now picture this. Maher, a liberal giant, is visibly frustrated by the constraints political correctness imposes on comedy and free speech.
The majority of the years that I've done real time from the same studio at CBS here in Hollywood, 20 years, the first, I would say, at least 15, I was probably fighting with the audience, at least once a show. Mm-hmm. It was very rare I had an audience that didn't like ooh and ah something. Then somebody did some, part of it was the pandemic. We had to get a smaller audience. Right. And so somehow they knew how to get rid of just the groaners. Yeah. And so we stuck with it even after the pandemic ended and we could have as many as we want now. But I was like, no, I'd much rather have this half filled, but they're the good people who they can laugh at both sides. Right. They cheer both things. They cheer common sense.
Yeah.
It's almost like he was wrestling with his own ideals, trying to walk the fine line between staying true to his comedic roots and not alienating his predominantly liberal audience. His struggle wasn't just with the ideas, but also with how audiences perceive those ideas. On the other hand, you've got Gutfeld, a pinnacle of conservative commentary, not buying into the idea of tiptoeing around sensitive topics. He was right there challenging Maher, pushing him to consider the notion that an unflinching stance could be more liberating, even if it risks sparking outrage.
If your job is to kind of freely point out that these people suck and you find out that maybe they don't, you might lose an audience. You might you might end up like if you were going and I've seen it on your show when you veer.
I've lost audience.
Before
many times, and I don't care.
But
I care because it'd be great if it didn't happen. But my real bond with my audience is that I never pull a punch.
Yeah.
And I never. I mean, I have lost people who were think I'm conservative now, and I have not changed. I don't think at all.
No.
I think the politics has changed and the people have changed. But I don't think that it makes me a conservative to, think things that are crazy are crazy.
Yeah.
And forcing me to say so doesn't help.
Yeah.
There's just too much forced conformity.
Yeah.
And there's no thinking out loud.
Yeah.
That's not allowed.
I mean, think about it, guys. If comedians can't poke fun at society without fearing backlash, where does it end? As the debate intensified, Maher candidly expressed a fear of losing his audience, something many public figures can relate to, right?
That you disagree with, when you said it was like you take them at their worst intentions, not their best. Everything that's going on right now in our lives is based on people taking the worst intention.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't matter if you're a conservative and you don't like liberals, you will take the worst example of a liberal, and a liberal will take the worst example of a conservative, and they both are almost identical. Like the squad is the same as whoever you want to call on the conservative side. They're exactly the same.
There is a lot of that.
Yeah, and and the thing is, it's really funny when I make fun of Ilhan Omar, and then she'll say something that I agree with. And I'm like
what?
She was pretty good. That's a good question. There were two things that she said. She was pissed off about what was going on in Palestine, not Palestine, but Palestine.
Oh,
and, yeah.
I'm glad
it wasn't Palestine.
I was.
But she was talking about but there were some other things that she said that I thought were wow, that's pretty libertarian, because generally she's kind of scary, but maybe she's not as bad as I think she is. But what happens if you start feeling that way about everybody? Then you kind of lose who you are.
He's seen it happen before when poking at the edges of progressive thought might alienate some, but entertain others. You could feel his internal conflict, wrestling with being authentic yet palatable. Gutfeld, however, seemed unfazed, almost eager to kick at the restraints of censorship. He implored Maher to lighten up. To him, political correctness was a joke in itself.
It's a bathroom wall. It's a bathroom wall. So you can write things on it and not be held accountable. But
it has repercussions, and a bathroom wall doesn't.
Yeah, it does. It destroys
all
careers.
You do is go in there and roll your eyes because you're reading this.
Do you remember that girl that made that joke who, before she was leaving to fly to South Africa?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and she said, "I hope I don't get AIDS." That's a joke about America and about how we don't care about. And I remember, that was the first Twitter.
Yeah.
I think it's the first cancel culture moment.
I mean, it was. If they haven't made a movie about it, they should.
Yeah.
Because by the time she got off the plane, her life was over.
There were people at the airport waiting for her because it felt so good to get somebody. And I can't remember her name, but she, I don't what happened to her. I'm going to Google her when we're done.
No, there used to be, if something like that happened, I think there was this allowance for someone to then go, oh, fuck, okay, you got me. It was a brain fart. I'm sorry, you're right. That was a shitty thing to do. And that was that.
Yeah.
And that should be all that, because what I hate is the bad faith of people who know that this person isn't a horrible person, but I'm going to wreck your life anyway. Because if there's one misstep and not a hanging offense.
Yeah.
Especially if you own it. But now with these people, it's never good enough.
Yeah. I would say that.
Just like blood.
I would say that I was guilty of that, though. In the beginning, it's when somebody.
He sees it not just as stifling, but as a form of intellectual dishonesty. and he thinks audiences, deep down, want the truth even if it stings. Listening to this back and forth, you can't help but wonder about the implications for us regular folks living in a world where saying the wrong thing could get you canceled. Are we, as a society, just, too quick to crucify without understanding context? What's captivating is how Gutfeld turns the conversation on its head, arguing that many who scream offense aren't genuinely offended. Instead, it's all about control. It's like, are they addicted to wielding power from behind a screen? That little moment when billions of tweets swarm in to ruin someone's day. It makes you think, doesn't it? Maher, trying to find some middle ground, appeared torn between embracing the freedom to offend and maintaining his status quo, one that has kept him both relevant and respected in entertainment circles. There's this tension about sticking to his guns or yielding to pressures around him to stay marketable, and Gutfeld wasn't shy about pointing fingers at the left, arguing that their version of morality puts on display this facade of empathy, yet lacks in actual compassion. According to him, it's like painting over cracks in the wall rather than repairing them, cosmetic and shallow. When I heard this discussion, what hit home was Gutfeld's conviction in unapologetic authenticity versus Maher's cautious diplomacy. It was a battle between unfettered truth and strategic conformity. How maybe could this situation be in any way sustainable for someone in Maher's shoes? It's like if Maher could just decide to ignore the potential backlash and speak freely without calculating his audience's every reaction, would he lose an audience or gain an even larger, more loyal one? Or would Gutfeld's method push the envelope too far and alienate folks away? These are questions, right, that we all seem to be grappling with when it comes to freedom of speech and art in today's climate.
Instead, they get on Twitter and then they create this kind of like mob reaction. And then people are so bored and they're so distracted that this is, and also it's a personal power thing. It's like, if I don't have any power in my world, at least on here, I can exert some kind of power, get somebody to apologize. And it feels good. It feels good if I can get 1,000 retweets that Bill Maher said this and what an asshole and then like it happens. It's like, but your life doesn't change. My life doesn't change by doing that. But I feel like I did something. And I think that's been driving a lot of this shit.
The phone made people assholes.
Yeah. Full
stop.
Yeah.
It allows you to just be so fucking cowardly, anonymous, shady, fake, all these shitty qualities it brought out in people.
Yeah.
So the fact that I was always seen as kind of a cynic about humans, I think that looks pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it turns out that they are really, humans are not good people.
Yeah, well, no, I don't know. Well, we're definitely sinners.
So what do you actually think about this? Do you stand with Maher's cautious treading or Gutfeld's bold candidness?
That made my life so much better. And I know people who miss it. They're like, oh, I loved it when you would say, give the crowd the finger or tell them something. I don't know. And it was true. I mean, because I'm not one of those comics who can just pretend. It's like, no, if you're being oversensitive, I'm going to bust you on it because you're an audience. This is a comedy show. The fucking sign over my head says real time or it says politically incorrect. Why are you here if you're not here to be open-minded and willing to laugh at a lot of stuff and oohing and ahhing this? You could go to every other kind of show in town, the taping, and you'll be absolutely in the perfect setting for that, for being full of shit.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, so don't hesitate to drop a comment below on what part of their passionate exchange caught your interest the most.
I remember watching your show a couple times when you would actually feel, I could see you genuinely disappointed when people applauded for what you would think would be a red meat comment. It's kind of like because I do the same thing. It's like, I know that it's really easy to bash Biden or anybody. And then, so we have I joke about it. I go, well, that was red meat. And I go, so that's funny to you. But if I do anything else, it's not funny. It's like, but they're not living in the world that we live in. So maybe this is their outlet. I don't know. But I noticed that when you do that, you just kind of go.